This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
We all want a certain level of connection in our lives. We all want to achieve certain things that are important to us. We all want a sense of belonging. That's why this organization exists for young people, the power of relationships, to help give that sense of belonging, that sense of connection, that sense of relationship, that sense of power.
It was almost 2 years ago to the month, as sheer fate would have it, or perhaps ill-fated for my guest, that the universe decided to lock my guest and I in an 8-minute gondola ride, summiting almost 3,000 feet to the top of Sulphur Mountain in Banff in Alberta, Canada. And what a few days that was. I'm not sure if you felt that way, because my guest today was the president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. Again, and Artis Stevens, I'm going to let you do it justice more than me. But do you remember being stuck in this gondola with me and me blabbing my mouth off out of ideas? You should do this and you should do that. Does this sound familiar to you?
It sounds very familiar. However, my friend, I'll tell you what I remember more than that. The cold that was hitting my bones.
It was cold. It was cold.
It was freezing, buddy.
As a guy who lives in Atlanta, I could see that Alberta, Canada is not the 404. I could see that being cold for you.
Yeah. But it was good being able to have good company, man, right? So, you're dealing with all that cold for me coming from the South, but having good company that could keep you laughing and keep you going. And then, we just hit it off, man. So it was great.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, really? This guy was stuck in a gondola with me, and now here he is stuck in a Zoom box with me? Why do you keep doing this to yourself?
I don't know, man. Maybe we're glutton for pain.
All right, so if I think back to that gondola ride, and that, I always give a lot of love to the gathering, because it's a very special event that they throw up in Banff, and if you haven't had a chance to go check it out, like, it really isn't a conference. They've done a really good job of sort of just making sure people show up and keep it real. But if we go back to that moment that we met, you're about a year in, maybe a year and a half in on the gig, right? Congrats, by the way. I think you hit the 3.5-year mark.
Yeah.
And what I do remember about, like, hey, we're stuck together in this gondola. I might as well, as a guy that appreciates brand, I viscerally remember us having a chat about this concept of, big brothers, big sisters. Like, the only way to, like, tackle this big thing is to go little and to go small first, and, like, little wins. And again, I had zero data to, like, blab my mouth, Artist, if I'm true, but I'm curious if you feel like, when you think about the strategy in play, and maybe let's go back. When you describe Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, how do you go about articulating what the organization is?
I first start with, I think, what we all know, and that's the power of relationships, right? That's what Big Brothers Big Sisters. When you really, like, peel away the onion, and yeah, we all talk about our organizations and what all our organizations do. When we really get down to the why of this organizations, it's the power of relationships, right? It's the power of relationships to make positive change in people's lives. We talk about young people, but we're true believers in that power happens both ways. Yes, adults to young people, but also young people to adults. And then the beauty and the magic of that is that it makes them both better, but also makes our communities better. And ultimately, it makes the country better. And ultimately, it makes the world better, right? Because of what you just said. One relationship, the power of one relationship at a time, then adds up and has this amplification of what we've seen over 120 years of being a mission, that millions of young people and millions of adults have benefited from the power of this mission, but it's all been started based upon the basis of great relationships.
Relationships is one of my favorite words, and I love words. I love bending words. Like, for having a company called Courageous, I really should have a company called Clarity, because sometimes it can get foggy out there as a leader, and we're trying to help keep it clear. And what I love most about relationships is you can't spell it without IP. And it's relationships, it is IP, right? There is IP. And when you find a relationship that works, think about it. How many times have you and I jammed in the last 2 or 3 years? It ain't about that. It's like when you know you connect with somebody, it instantly builds a relationship, and you want to help any way you possibly can when you find those people and you pick up right where you left off. I think that's the power of a great relationship. When you go about building the organization, if it's truly built on relationships, man, then your relationships are like there's companies, there's
Yeah.
individuals. How do you go about trying to juggle all of that?
Yeah. I mean, you said it though. It is, I think it starts with the idea of starting with the simple, right? The simple. And for me, the simple is how you come to a relationship. Authenticity, right? By being yourself. Like real relationships, the ones that really last and that are meaningful and deep, is when the people that are in them are coming in as their authentic self, right? And having a level of vulnerability about who they are and being able to share that, and also creating a space where others can share it as well. And that's sort of where we start, right? And I think that's how we built great relationships. We didn't come in and, and I'll tell you, Ryan, that it's been one of these things where when we started to really think about our mission, we had to also think about, man, are we trying to be something that we're not? Right? Are we trying to talk about all the things that maybe another organization is or another mission? Because you're trying to like cater to everything, whether it's a donor, whether it's a partner, you're trying to cater to all these
Right.
things because you're trying to meet the mission, you're trying to meet the need. But at the end of the day, that's where mission creeps happens. That's where all the other things happen that doesn't make you your authentic organization. And what we have to say is we have to really put our stake in the ground on what is it that's true and real about this mission? What is it that we do incredibly well and what we think we do better as good or great as anybody in the world or better, and really like press upon that, and also say what are the things that we don't, and not to be so focused on all the things that we don't do, and more focus on the things that we do well and that we do incredibly well. So I say all that to say I take relationships and building them and what we've been able to do in terms of building partnerships and opportunities, because we've gone into it with a simple formula. And the simple formula is that we're going to walk in, we're going to be ourselves, we're going to tell you what we do incredibly well, we're going to ask you about what you do incredibly well, and then we're going to figure out, do those things match, right? Are there synergies, there connection points to it? And if so, then we're about to do a beautiful build together, my friend, because we're authentically linked from the get-go.
When you talk about the mission, can you rattle that off?
Yeah. So the way we talk about the mission is empowering every young person to reach their full potential in this world, right? And to do that with the power of a positive relationship and a positive adult relationship.
Yeah, I feel like I read somewhere or saw somewhere that 16 million kids are without mentors that need mentors. Ish. I'm around. Maybe
Yeah.
that's US. Maybe that's US kids.
Mhm.
And it's funny when I think about what we try to do at Courageous. Like I'm back to, I just wrote about this. I just put something out. I'm like, we fight for the 5%. Like we fight for, like, the data that I have on my side is that 95% of us are freeze or flight, and 5% of us are fighters, which means that 95% of us at first are driven by fear, and 5% are driven by courage. So you can imagine, and both of us have a love of public speaking. We've done our thing before. If I'm in a room of 400 people, I will make 20 of them stand up and be like, would you rather be in the 20 that are the fighters or and it's just the way it's just your design, freeze, flight, or fight. 95% of us are freeze or flight, and 5% of us are fight. So if I could teach courageous leaders to be more brave, then let them do their part. That's 5%. That's fighting for the 5%.
Hmm.
And then I look at you and like, wait, you're also fighting for the 5%. Like there's around 320 million, 340 million Americans, and 16 million right now. It's 5% that
Mhm.
would love to have a mentor, would
That's
love to
right.
have that relationship. And so how do you like take that mission out? Where do you even start? Is it do you need the money? Do you need the volunteer? Like,
Mhm.
is it chicken or egg?
It's all of the above. It's called the circle of life, my friend, right? You just explained the circle of life, right? And it is. I mean, when you think about the relationships we build, it's the circle of life, right? It is, if you think about mentorship, it is something that's been around since the beginning of humankind, right? It's been passed down from one generation to the next generation, teaching each other, right? So this idea of mentorship is something that's fundamentally interwoven into our culture. Our goal is how we make it intentional, right? How do we think about making it intentional, thoughtful for particularly young people in communities that don't always have that level of access and connection. And that's where we start, right? So we start in the place of understanding what is it that we're trying to solve, right? So you mentioned the 16 million. I'll even break that number down a little bit more. If you go to that 16 million and then you overlap that with the number of kids who face some of the most adverse challenges in this country, poverty, right? Educational disparities, significant mental health trauma and depression. That gets to about 10 million kids, right? Even more, right? 10 million kids who don't have a positive, sustained mentor, but also face some of the most adverse challenges in our country, right? So we position and we say, okay, so that's our frame of reference of who we're trying to serve. So then we look and we say, who are the types of groups, organization, people that can help us to serve that population? We start with the people that we've served. There are 20 million alumni that are out there, that are big brothers and big sisters that have come through, been a big, been a little, been connected with us in some way. So our goal and our role is to start with those 20 million because they're everywhere, Ryan, whether it's the individual, whether they're leading a company, whether they're influencer of some type, whether they're just that everyday person who can give a hand and help out. So we start there. And then we start to increase that circle and we say, okay, we got to increase the village even wider. So where are the other places that we can increase the village wider? We got to go to where kids go. Where are they? And where's the need? School systems. So when we talk about our programs and how we partner in our programs, some of our biggest focus is how do we get into schools and how do we ensure that there's mentors during the school day that helps and supports our teachers. Corporations, right? If we want to get volunteers, where do volunteers live? And most of their day is being at work. So not saying, hey, you got to come to us. How do we also come to you and where you are and create workplace mentoring programs so that we make it more seamless and accessible for people to get into this mission? So where do we start? We start with access, right? Access is the key word here because it's not just access for the idea of what we're talking about, young people, that's primary, but it's also access for the volunteers. When we do things like going to where kids are, going to where volunteers are, and creating technology that allows for people to have much more access into this mission and to this work, that's how you start to create the type of change and opportunity because more people have access into the mission.
I'm curious. I mean, sure, it sounds like you got your head wrapped around what you need to do, but maybe this is an unfair question, Artis, but like when you go back to when you joined, is it what you thought it would be? Or like how like did you kind of have a, excuse my French, but like an oh shit moment that this is way bigger or harder, or like take me through that arc of when you started to what it is now?
Yeah. So the reason why I'm laughing at that question, you got to remember, I started during the pandemic, man.
Oh
so,
God.
so just me saying that should probably tell you probably how I felt, right? So I'm sitting at home and here I am taking this and listen, I took this role and I was excited. I still am. I was excited to take the role at the point, but I have all this energy, right? I want to do all these things. I want to help kids in all these different ways, but I cannot leave my house. I got to sit and I got to see people struggle. I got to see all of these agencies that we serve, the people that we serve, the volunteers, and I hear the struggle. I hear the pain, hear all the things that our kids are going through, but I can't do anything. Not outside of my house, right? I can't take that step. So it was the idea of being able to say, hey, how do I need to adjust just up here as a leader? How do I need to adjust? Because it was burning me that I couldn't do the things that I knew I could do well, which was be out there, right? Talk to people, comfort, engage, figure out solutions while I'm at the table breaking bread. None of that stuff. So every image of me was through a screen. The ability to connect had to be a different way of trying to connect and engage with people. And then my journey was once I was out of the pandemic, then I over-indexed, right? Because I wanted to be out there so much. So
Yeah.
then what happens? I go full blast And then I'm like on the road like every other week because I'm wanting to make up for not being there for over the past year. So then now I'm dealing with a whole different type of issue because I'm overexerting myself. I'm trying to figure out things with the harmony with being at home and being on the road. All of those things, my friend, were part of it. So it was more for me as a leader during that moment was all the things that we all went through, of course, but it was the sense of being able to probably adjust, right? To moderate, to be able to calculate and say, what's the pace? What's the approach? How do I get out as the right leader? I got the courage, as you say, as a leader. It was just more about how do I take that and create a space where I can truly be in this role and really accept what this role is and not be in a place where I feel either under indexed or over indexed. How you find the sweet spot.
I get it though. I get it, and good for you for acknowledging that and recognizing that, right? And I live in San Diego. There's not a lot of business here. So for me to feel truly fulfilled in my work, I'm on a plane. I want to inspire companies to be more brave, or like, it's sort of sad that telling the truth is now an act of courage. You talked about authenticity and keeping real. Like, there's a conversation that probably has to happen, and many people know and they bite their lip on, and you lose a lot of time because of it. So I hear you and I feel you. I get excited when I get to get out on the road and do me, and I'm sure you felt that way. Now, what was at stake? I probably didn't win Dad of the Year when the
Okay.
pandemic popped up, right? After the pandemic, when I was back on the road. But as you start to figure out where your lane is and you're building all of these new relationships also, did you just get so much energy from that?
I do. I get energy from being in the room. I get energy from seeing people like believe. Right? Does that make sense? Like
Totally.
when someone says like, "Wow, I had no idea," or they lean in and say, "I get it," right? Or even more, they say, "You inspired me to want to reach out and volunteer or to take action or to do something." I can't tell you how many times I get those notes on LinkedIn from whether I did a speech and then someone follows up and says, "Hey, either I reached out to my local big brothers, big sisters, or I decided to get more involved in my school, or let me tell you my story," right? That gives me energy because it's connection and it's connection to people. And that's sort of what, when you're in this role and you're in this, and I've shared this story before, my legacy is that of a minister, right? My dad and my granddad, right? I'm not a minister, but
Yeah,
maybe a
you
minister.
are. Yeah, you are. I was just about to say, I do my homework. I know a preacher's son,
Yeah,
and I saw you do you in Banff on that stage, and
yeah.
you can feel it's real, and you can feel the energy, and in some ways we're in the same business of belief. Like, a lot of companies, they believe, and then they don't believe anymore. It's like, believe again. Like, why did we believe in the first place? And we got to get them to believe again. I'm curious if when someone says to you, I didn't know that about you guys. That feels like a branding problem.
It is. It
Is
is
that what it
definitely
is?
what. Yeah, yeah. I mean, think about this. 120 years, I just told you. Um, you would think 120 years, right? That there's sort of two sides of this. 120 years you've been around, right? So there's a level of what people know about you. 120 years, there's a level of what people know about you, right? So that goes both ways because if I had an impression in my mind about Big Brothers Big Sisters because we've been around so long, then the cup starts to fill up, right? Because I already feel like I know what this mission is, right? So the space that you have to be able to sort of like inform and create inform it becomes much smaller, right? Because now what I'm doing is more than informing you, I'm trying to change perceptions, right? And that's where we are. Where it's not that people don't know who we are. Like, again, we've been around a long time. We're an iconic brand in that sense. The question is, oh, is this brand Big Brothers Big Sisters? You guys have been around. You're a nice organization, you're a nice charity. You only serve these types of kids, or you only in these types of communities. Oh, wait a minute, you guys, I get it, but isn't that you guys are Boys and Girls Clubs, or you guys are YMCA, right? You all are connected, right? So there is the stuff of knowing what we actually do, and I would say even more, why are we relevant, right? Why are we relevant to you as quote unquote donor, volunteer, partner, consumer? Why are we relevant? And that, Ryan, has been the change over the last 3.5 years. It's been saying my proposition is not so much to inform you about Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's to make Big Brothers Big Sisters more relevant to you, right? So how do I answer the relevancy question more than I even answer the education? Now, is there education in that? Absolutely. But what I'm trying to do is to say, hey, we're more relevant, and here's why, right? Because you know something of me, but I got to now make you say, well, wait a minute. 5 to 18 is what I thought this organization was, but what? You serve 18 to 25 as well? Why? Because of kids who are graduating and looking to get jobs? Oh, wait a minute. I run a company. I need kids who are trained, who know how to have skills. You are helping these skills so you can help my company as well. I can get my employees involved with your organization to be able to support my employee morale and then affect the community. Therefore, I look better. I get more involved. I feel better about what I'm doing. Solutions, right? So now it becomes less of, hey, I'm just helping Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I'm cutting a check. I'm doing all the things. You're still going to do that. You're still going to feel good. You're still going to feel purposeful. But now, man, I'm winning as a company. I'm winning as a leader. I'm winning as a decision maker. That's what we have to do in terms of creating a relevancy proposition that goes on top of the idea of informing people.
I guess this is where the name may hurt, right? Because people, when you're not there to defend it and they hear Big Brother, Big Sisters, they think Big Brother or 5 to 18, right? And they're not thinking, hey, what's the next big move? What's that big internship? What's that big opportunity? Right? When you're not there to defend it, is that landing right now? Maybe I'm bridging to my next. Well, first of all, let's give you some love here too. If I had a hat on, this is my cap tipping moment to you. I did see y'all are in the top 10 for trusted nonprofits in the U.S. now with Make-A-Wish and American Cancer Society. I mean, that's kind of a nice little data point, no?
It's huge. It's huge, and it's even more incredible because I know all of the work that we have 230 local affiliates. We call them local agencies. I know all the work that they put into making this happen and how they work every single day, and our national staff as well. And it's a lot of people that's built a foundation for us to be here. And we've always been an organization that's delivered, right? But delivering that in a way that's communicative, that people understand it, that people are engaging in a way, that's what, this sort of recognition sort of bears out that it's really paying dividends.
You had mentioned, or we had mentioned, you come from a family of givers and speakers, preachers. Do you feel that you had the mentor, like you had mentors growing up, or were you part of the program?
Wasn't part of the program, but I did have mentors, right? And I had mentors of all backgrounds, all experiences. I have what we preach today, right? I had a village. Of people, and it was so important because even when we talk about mentorship today, a lot of people will see our model, which is primarily one-to-one mentorship, right? And it's great, right? It is powerful, it's impactful. Having a one-to-one mentor that you can trust and you can connect with, it is one of the antidotes to seeing young people thrive, right? No matter what community they come from. And yet, what that one-to-one relationship also does is it helps to curate this ecosystem around young people, of people, of opportunities, of access, of partnerships and services. And that's the way I grew up. I grew up in a community that we didn't have a lot, but what we had, they pulled together, right, to help kids, and they helped to give us access and give us opportunity. So I had the benefit of that, which, Ryan, it gives my perspective today in leading this organization, right? Because I believe that every kid, when I say it takes a village, right, it's not just saying an African proverb, it's because I've lived it, right? I've lived the experience and I know what it feels like. And I've also seen when young people haven't had it, right there in front of me in my community when I was growing up, and what that means and what that looks like. So it's very intentional, but yeah, it's definitely a lived experience.
Where'd you grow up?
They call Brunswick, Georgia. Brunswick, Georgia. So small town, great place, great place. It's an hour below Savannah, Georgia, an hour above Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I was born. I was born in Jacksonville and moved to Brunswick at a young age.
So I grew up. I was born in Maryland, and grew up in the DMV area, and I feel like I came out with a cheat code. Like, I don't even remember Nintendo Power. Like I think I got a cheat code in life and came out on level 5. Like my parents are still together. You know, grateful that they're still alive, and they let me be independent. And I wasn't worried about floors. I was like curious about ceilings, and I know what you'd mean because it came from having permission to dream and to like go explore. And I remember at the age of 8, I got a little closer to where you lived. I went to summer camp for a month at 8. And I flew to North Carolina. It was Arapahoe, North Carolina. And, you know, do our jobs pick us or do we pick our jobs? That was the first time I was in an upside down world. And like the South, to me, that was in the South. Maryland is not the South. Let's just I know we're under the Mason-Dixon line. The Carolinas to me was, and like to see this world, this very different world. But I had the like permission to go play and and that network that was like my first village really.
Yeah.
And I wonder what happens to your point when you don't have, what percent don't have that cheat code, or those starting on level 1. Is the ceiling just a little bit lower? Do you feel that because you've never seen success before? And I think what you're providing is that ceiling, that opportunity that you can dream and you can go and we've got some wings for you here, kind of to go fly and be the person you want to be.
Yeah, we have a saying that we talk about all the time in Big Brothers Big Sisters, and it comes from a lot of the communities that we serve. You can see it, you can be it, right? And that line just by itself is this line about giving kids access and exposure, right, to be able to see things. And what we believe and what we know to be true is that talent is everywhere in this country. Opportunity is not, right? So if we can sort of balance the playing field where there's more opportunity with all the immense talent, then it allows kids to be able to do what you just said, right? To go and talk about ceilings, right? And break through them and be able to go to the places that they want to go. But if you know what you know is 4 or 5 blocks around your house, right? That's your world. That's the entire world that you've always known. How can you talk about or see anything differently, right? Because it's not real to you. Even if you see it on TV, even if you go on social media and see all the things on social media, right? Doesn't still make it real. What we have to do is to make it real for young people. And sometimes making it real is, yeah, you can go places, you can do experiences. Sometimes it's just meeting the person, right? That can make it real in your life. And that's more what our intention is that if we can make the idea of kids seeing it and being it, being real because they see people who've actually achieved, who actually overcome, who've come from some of the same places that they have, and who haven't as well, right? When I say village, it's not one answer to help a kid. When I said I needed a lot of backgrounds, I had people that came from my same community that looked exactly like the background that I come from and what I look like. But I had some great mentors and have had great mentors that look nothing like me, that come from no place like me. I needed all of it, right? And that's why we shouldn't have to choose, and kids shouldn't have to choose. To me, this should be a buffet. It should be a buffet
Yeah.
of what kids get access, because that's the kind of country we live in. We should, if we're the country of opportunity, right? In the terms of thinking about mentorship in this country, it should be a buffet of positive relationships and experiences and connections and opportunities that every kid gets, so that they have every opportunity to thrive. That's what it should be.
I mean, thrive. I mean, I don't know, I'm not loving the rhyme on survive or thrive, but some of this is survival, right? It is.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I guess, how do you feel like a mentor can help young people get their heads strong, provide that safe space to be you?
Mhm.
Are you running into that also in the business?
Yeah. When you have 30,000 young people that we've traditionally had around our waiting list, it's been because of the supply, like the lack of supply. And it is part of the challenge is people don't feel like either they got the time to do it, or they feel like the sense of the burden of perfection, right? Those are two of the biggest reasons that we come across. One is time. And some of this is what we've been going through is, when I say access is also about education, right? And this is a part where education really comes in to say, what does it really mean to give your time? You look at our program, for example, most of our mentors 2 times a month, meeting with the young person for an hour per visit, right? Most of them want to meet more, but the young person can't, right? Because they get so much into it once they start engaging and getting immersed. And yet, that's not the only type of mentoring that we do, right? There's career mentoring, there's more episodic mentoring, there is taking a young person on a tour for a day, right? We call it Big for a Day, right? Where they can see your company, they can see how you work, right? There's mentoring through technology, right? And doing masterclass like moments, right? Sitting there just like you're on right now, the two of us, but you're talking to a group of young people. It's there's so many different forms and ways for you to get involved. And one of the things we are educating and informing folks on is the diversity of how you can access mentorship, both in our program, but also in life, that it doesn't have to be one way, it can be multiple ways. And here's the impact that those different ways can have on the young person's life. So that's one big side. The other side is this idea of perfection, right? And most of the time, the line is somewhere close to, I can't be a mentor because I've done a whole bunch of stuff. Nobody will see me as a role model. So that's just not something that I think a kid would want. Where the truth is that, what we say all the time is you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be present, right? And most kids are just looking for present mentor, somebody who's persistent, who's reliable, who wants to be there, who wants to be in their life. And half the battle is showing up, right? And what we find is that if you get involved in mentorship, the young person, they typically will help you lead the way, right? Because you start the conversation, you engage, you find more about each other. And all the things that you thought before, the time, the burden of mentorship, all those things start to break down simply because you showed up and you continue to show up. Every time there's a connection, there's a meet, there's a greet, and then these young people really come and start to shine. You see the benefit not only that it has on their life, but you see the benefit that it has on your life as well.
That I love that line about you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present. And that hits home with me. There are times where I'm here at my house. I'm finally here, and my 11-year-old son, I know he wants his dad,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm physically here, but I could be more present as a dad. And sometimes I need to hear it from somebody else to remind me, right? Like that, be there. It's funny. I had this formula that I used to use, and I got to bring it back. It was attention plus belief equals dad.
Hmm.
And I like that for what, mentorship, attention plus belief. There's no perfection, right? It's just like you
Yeah.
get my energy, and maybe I see something in you that you don't
Mhm.
even see in yourself, equals dad, but that could also be mentor, right? It could be big brother or
Yeah.
big sister. So I appreciate you, man. It's good for me to hear. I'm curious. We have this idea of what a leader is,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we want to project strong, but we're human and we're like doing the best that we can. I'm curious what you're like. We talk about fear and courageous a lot. You can't get to the courageous move without channeling it through fear. So is there like a large fear? What is the largest fear that you feel you face as a leader of this team?
It's a great question. That I can't be there. I can't be there for everyone, right? And it's a personal thing because ultimately the journey of leadership is a very personal one, right? And because what's our leadership perspective? It's not our lived experience, right? It's not the things that of who we are and what we're made up, and then we get into these roles, right? Where we move into these roles, and these roles are a reflection, and the way we guide is a reflection of so much of how we were raised, what we learned along the way, our sort of our makeup, our genetic makeup, all the things that give us our perspective and our frame of reference for leadership. For me, a big part of that was always being this kid who was the responsible kid, right? The one who was supposed to make it, the one who was supposed to do all these things, the one who people said at an early age was going to be just like his dad or was going to do these great things, right? And as great as that is a level of affirmation, but it's also a level
Pressure.
of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to sort of move and grow up into these places and get in these communities. And some of it is one, who you are, but some of it's what you're wired to believe, right? So then you get into places and environments and you sort of fulfill that destiny, which is, hey, I got to be the person that's the dependable person for everybody. I got to be present, right? I got to be there. I got to be the one where if there's a problem, hey, Artis, he's going to come in to fix it, right? He's going to solve it, right? And you come in, you get wired. You get wired that way because you're the person that's always supposed to find the solution or be that person at work. You're supposed to be that person in life with your friends, with your family. You're supposed to be the one, right? So I say all of that, and particularly for folks, because hopefully there are folks who may be observing this and saying, yeah, they can relate to this, because then you get into a role like this, right? Tremendous pressure. You're leading. You're the first time everything, right? First time CEO, first time Black leader in the CEO role, all the things that come with that. You got a family, of course, you're trying to raise. It's all the things. And then you try to be there for your team. And so then the question becomes, hey, how do I want to be there for my team? Well, I want to be present, right? I don't want to let people down because that's how I've been wired, right? I don't ever want to let anyone down. When people say, hey, we need you for this, oh, I got to be there because I don't want to let anyone down. When my agencies, 230 agencies, 230 leaders, right, are asking and requesting things, what's the answer, right? Yeah, there's certain ways you navigate it, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't want to let anyone down, right? So it's that fear of the sense of not being there and not letting anyone down. And it's something that you fight and you struggle with, right? And it's still a struggle for me about not letting people down because that's sort of how I've been raised and that's how I was wired. And that's something that I know very intentionally that I always have to ensure that I'm striking a balance and I'm finding my own peace with that so that I can be the best person, not just for everyone else around me, but it starts with being the best person for myself so that I can better lead, I can better guide, I can better be a support, so that I don't have that unintentional pressure to be something that doesn't allow me to be my best self for others.
I mean, obviously, my first thought is, please tell me you've got vacation coming up at some point.
Listen, I had a great one, man. I just got off a great one not too long ago. So let me tell you, it was awesome. And that was part of the therapy, man. Part of the therapy is forcing yourself right, to do certain things, Ryan. To your, I mean, it's the exact point, right? I took a trip and I took a vacation and I did something for the first time that I had never done on a vacation. I totally shut down. Totally. I totally shut down. And it's funny because when I started to do it, there was something was like, everything's gonna be all right. Like it ain't, this thing is not ending, man. It's not like, and they're okay. Everybody's okay. And guess what? You're okay too. And it was something about that that just clicked for me, right? I was getting there and I had my moments. And I've always been a person that's been able to sort of find my own space and find my own place and sort of find my therapy, if you will. But it was something about doing that that just changed things for me. And when I came back from that vacation, it was different, right? So now it's the sense of, yeah, I got to be able to empower this team to do what they need to do and to do it and yeah, feel okay with it and know that they're gonna fall sometimes. There's gonna be risks, there's gonna be challenge, they're gonna have their issues, but they're gonna still win. They're still gonna be better, right? Because they're doing that. And then for me, I gotta find my own space as a leader where I can deal with that fear and say, I can address and I can be okay, right? And I'm going to be okay because I don't have to be there for everyone. But that's been a journey, right? It hasn't been a sprint, it's been a journey to get to this place.
Hey, and we're kind of back to the relevance
Yeah.
conversation, right? I think the organization's quest for relevance, this is sort of like, all right, listener, raise your hand if you've done this before.
Mhm.
You've gone on vacation, but you really didn't go on vacation. And
Yeah.
you look and I'm just gonna respond for real quick. And it's a combination of things that's happening. And some of it is our needs to feel needed and relevant, the dependability that you talked about. But I imagine the signal you send to your team when you're just like, see you in 10 days, see you in a week. I imagine what that does is like lets them breathe and show that they've got responsibility and they can run with it. I do have to ask, you must have siblings. Where are you in
Yes.
the order? How many of you?
Youngest.
Of?
Well, six. It was seven that a sibling that passed away, but six.
And what was the ages between oldest and you?
Oldest, maybe about, let's see, 10, maybe 10 years,
You
10,
didn't know
10.
this was gonna be a math test, did you?
Yeah, yeah, you making me think, man. Yeah, maybe 10
Wow.
years around that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that, because we each pick our lanes and yours was the dependable one. Of all
Yeah.
10, how did
Funny.
that happen?
Yeah. It's funny how life works, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
So you get to this point, man, and you become the one who it's just like any family, right? You see sort of how the makeup of kids, right? And they're all different and they end up like going in different directions and you see certain things. But for me, because I had a certain, I was the kid, I was the first in my family to go to college, right? And granted, I was the kid who was put in the classes, right? The sort of the advanced classes, all that kind. So when people start seeing that, and it's not the usual thing when I was growing up in my community, that wasn't what was happening, right? In my community, for a lot of reasons. Not that there wasn't smart people, it wasn't built and tuned that way. So when those types of things started happening, then they started looking at me a little different, like, wait a minute, this kid's a little different, right? What is happening here? And then all of a sudden, when they start to see you a little different, then they start to like put you in these like little circles of, okay, well, then we need to make sure he has this or he does this, and then your siblings start looking at you differently, right? And then when you start to grow up, then the expectations come on because then there's a certain expectation of, hey, he's going to college, he's doing all these types of things, he's a responsible person, right? So all these things come up, and then you become what you are today, and what you try to do is balance that. And that's why I'm so happy that I'm married well because I have a partner that she looks and she says, hey, you can't be that for everybody, right? You have to make sure that you're being accountable. She holds me accountable, right? And when you have people, and I use her as an example, but part of the sense of courage too is allowing people in to be to hold you accountable and listening to them and ensuring that you allow folks to come who you can trust that will help and support you in that way. And that's a journey too, but you have to be comfortable with it to ultimately get to the place you need to.
I mean, you're a pretty good blend of nature and nurture then, no? Because you're looking at the six in front of you, right? Your six siblings.
Yeah.
How, in your mind, I mean, I only had I had an older brother, and
Mm-hmm.
if I was on that show Millionaire, he's my call by far, like off the
Yeah.
charts. Book smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably a little stronger at reading the room and like connecting. So you've got all these case studies who are older than you that you're observing. Were you like, don't do that, don't do that? Oh, that was good. Mm. And then I'm sure, is that what it was like growing up?
It was part. So my sisters and brothers were incredibly talented, right? They were talented, and we were talented in very different ways. Like one of the things, my family is just musically talented, right? Except for me. I was the only one, right? Couldn't play an instrument, couldn't do anything, couldn't sing. They all could play instruments, they all could sing. So it was a talented family, right? My oldest brother was probably the person I looked at the most, right? As the model. For me, he was popular. Everybody liked him. You know, he was an athlete. He was, outside of my dad, he was the person that I profiled and I looked at and I said, man, I want to be like this guy, right? Like any older brother, he didn't want me around. He was like, no.
Get out of here.
It was one of those things where my mom and my dad was like, no, if you're going, you're gonna take your little brother with you, right? So I got a chance to hang around and be around, and then all of a sudden he liked it because, of course, for him it was like when people, and particularly young women, saw him being nice to his little brother, that gave him strength, right? So he liked it in terms of being able to get some of that. And then also, I think what happened and what evolved is the more we started to hang around each other, the more he was like, oh man, I didn't like this little kid. He ain't that bad, right? And then we started to just build. It's like a story almost. It's like almost like a sitcom. We just started to build a really great relationship, even though we had things that were different about each other. We just had that. We started to just build this bond, and he was much older than me. But then as we got older and older, just the appreciation for each other, right? And this is the crazy thing about family and siblings, right? That's back to what you were just saying was I could be at any age, accomplished as all get out, right? CEO of an organization, all the types of things. But when I walked in the room with my older brother, I was little brother, right? It wasn't CEO, it wasn't all the stuff, right? Not all the education. When I walked in the room with him, he was my older brother. That's how it was always to the point he passed away. It was that kind of experience.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that about your brother. I imagine your family sounds like the case study in it to the work you're doing now and the power of the work that you're doing now. And we have a saying at Courageous. I don't know, tagline. I don't like it is a tag. It is what it is. It's a tagline. And it's brave what's hard. Brave what's hard. And what's the hardest thing that you're navigating right now as a leader that you need courage on?
Yeah, I would probably change. This is an organization, as I mentioned, it's been around for 120 years. 120 years. There's a lot of tradition built in it, and it's great tradition. It is great. A lot of tremendous people, a lot of great equity that's been built over decades and decades and decades. What also comes with 120 years is a lot of built-in traditions that just sometimes exist, not for a purposeful way of creating outcomes and opportunities just because it was always the way it was done, right? And it's been passed down from one time for one time. Now we're fortunate that we're not one of those organizations that's so stuck in that. And yet, because we are the scale and the size we are, we're the history and the equity, when we're trying to say things about what young people need, we have to be nimble enough to see that, to be able to evolve and to be able to change. That's not easy, right? And it's definitely not easy when you're just coming out of a pandemic a few years ago where people were facing so much challenge, so much trauma, so much issues. So the idea of change for them can be a bit hard to swallow. And yet, over the last 3.5 years, I feel that as an organization, we've been one of those organizations that I feel in this space has changed a lot, has evolved a lot, because our program is modular, right? Our program can go out. It's not like set, and we got so many great youth organizations. One of the things that we're not building based, right? We're not set into brick and mortar. We can go in a church. We can go in a youth program, an after school program. We can go into school. We can go into a workplace. But because of that, when everything happened 3.5 years ago, it caused our program and caused us to think about, well, how do we ensure that we can be that program to meet young people and families and communities where they are? And we went through a process, and we're still going through it, but we went through a process of saying we have to innovate, we have to evolve, we have to enhance in ways, and that's not going to be easy. It is tough. It is tough getting people to say, hey, what I've been doing for 20 and 30 years of my career, you're asking me to change that, right? And that's been the basis and the foundation of what I know, right? And what I have to do is to say, I don't want you to change who you are at the core. I don't want us to change who we are at the core. But we have to understand that our core has to be able to evolve and to move and to be relevant with what's happening to the communities that's outside of us, right? And that's the lens that we've been working on. Do I take sometimes 2 steps forward and 3 steps back to then go 5 steps forward? Yeah, that's happened a lot, Ryan. And it's been worth it, though. It's been worth it because of the outcomes, the accomplishments that we've made for this mission together, right, as a united network. But it hasn't been easy, and change never is, but it is necessary. And it's the journey that we're going on right now as an organization, which I think a lot of people can relate to.
Well, maybe that's a good place for us to wrap. You know, my takeaway, and just to be clear, I'm going to hand this over to you because I think shortly, if anyone's made it this long into the convo, they're invested in this topic. So my hope is that you wrap us, but I'll give you my wrap before the wrap, right? Which is,
Yeah.
first of all, it's been an awesome conversation with Artis Stevens, just president and CEO, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and it's cool to see what you've done in 3.5 years, and I can't wait to see what you do in another 3.5. Maybe there's something too where our first gondola ride, where I blabbed with not a lot of data on the business, but little wins don't just lead to big wins. Little wins are big wins. And as you take on change, it might take, especially for someone who's been in the org for 20 years, 30 years, just sort of acknowledging, hey, that little win, that little nudge, that little shift is the opening to another little win. And that's an opening to another little win. And those multiply, those compound to the big wins. And yeah, I always say from the stage, change is hard, but the hardships of not changing are far harder. And it's cool to hear you say you know it. And it's so obvious how much you honor who the organization has, what they've been over 120 years, but also what's possible for the next 120 years. So grateful that, you know, we've become friends through all this. How do you want to end with this audience? I mean, part of me is like, what's your message for the volunteer? What's your message for the donor? Like, just you do you. Like, what do you want us to sort of take away, or how can we help?
Yeah. Well, I would first say that know that the conversation that we're having, the things that we've just got finished talking about, and I know we've been talking a lot about my journey, but it relates to the journey of all of us as human beings, right? Now, My journey is different than yours. We all have our own lived experience, but there's also a shared commonality that we all have, right? We all want a certain level of connection in our lives. We all want to achieve certain things that are important to us and to our families, right? We all want a sense of belonging, right? In our why, right? Our purpose in the world. And I'll say again, that's why this organization exists for young people, right? The power of relationships to help give that sense of belonging, that sense of connection, that sense of relationship, that sense of power. And we see it that it works, right? That 90% of the kids that are in our program feel a stronger sense of self-esteem and connection. 91% are on track to graduate, right? Because of that strong connection and showing up and engaging. 93% are saying no to risky behaviors, right? Because they feel a sense of resiliency and courage, right? And making positive decisions and knowing who they are and knowing what they don't have to do as much as they know what they should be doing, right? That's not by accident. That's by intention. And when programs like this have much more access and creativity and opportunity for young people to get involved and positive adults, you change lives, right? And for anybody out there who's looking to change a life, right? You don't have to do millions, right? You don't have to do hundreds. You can do one. And that one is powerful because it can change hundreds. It can change millions, right? That's the power of what our world has always been about. But, find us on BBBSA.org or BeBigNow.org, BeBigNow.org. And if you want to get involved, you can put in your zip code and you can find a local Big Brothers, Big Sisters that's close to you. If you're not interested in getting involved in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but you still want to make a difference, what I would say is there's a school, there's a community center, there's somebody in your family, there's a friend who needs connection, who needs partnership, a young person that's out there who needs a positive adult in their lives. And there's a lot of ways in your community to get involved. And then the last thing I would say is stay connected to me. I would love to stay connected to those who are observing this and engaging. Find me on LinkedIn, and I would love to stay connected because there's so much more that we can do together when we put and link up and connect and say, hey, here's how we can take on the world and truly change things. So thank you for the time. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Oh man, thank you for giving you to this cause. And I look forward to being trapped in a gondola or Zoom or an elevator or who knows where we'll be next, my friend. Appreciate you coming on the show today. Artis Stevens. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.